Okay, so welcome back to the Educator's Journey. I'm Dr. Erin Gravel, and I'm here today with Brooke. And Brooke was a graduate from SOU in 2011, and since then she's received her MED from SOU and has taught in a variety of elementary capacities in Oregon, Washington, and Idaho, where she currently lives with her family. For the last 3 years, she's been teaching in a dual immersion English and Spanish elementary classroom. This year, she's teaching second grade English. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So you're coming to us live from your classroom in Idaho, right?
In Idaho. Yep.
That's awesome. And how was your day today? Were you teaching kiddos face to face or were you teaching them online or?
Yeah. So we spent from the beginning of the year, we were hybrid in a hybrid model. And then I think it's been maybe 5 or 6 weeks now that we have been full, everybody in.
Wow. How has that been?
For me, amazing.
Okay.
Hybrid was so hard. I had no idea how hard it was going to be on me. It was emotionally taxing and so draining. I mean, talk about an organizational nightmare. I couldn't keep up. So having the kids here every day is a dream. I actually feel like we're getting somewhere. I can teach.
That is awesome. So you've been doing it, you said, for the last couple of weeks then. Do you
Yeah.
have certain parameters you have to put in place for the CDC guidelines?
When our board decided to come back full time, it was made very clear that, first of all, we came back all elementaries, and secondary just came back this week. So elementaries came back for at first, and it was very clear that social distancing could be a preference, but it will not be a requirement because I just can't do it all day long with second graders, 6 feet apart or whatever the requirements are now. So my students are spread out and we talk about it all the time as best we can. You know, you're not on top of your neighbor. We can't be 6 feet apart, but we can spread out. So,
Okay.
and we're wearing masks, of course.
Okay. And then is their day the same as it was pre-COVID as far as having specialists, going to recess? What does that look like for them?
It has been quite a roller coaster. So when we were in hybrid, we were contained to our classrooms as well. So we didn't do specials classes. Music and PE all did. They recorded videos and sent us to the classroom teachers. So the classroom teachers would show their videos and facilitate the lessons. And then recess, we started way structured. And then by Christmas, it was just regular recess. So once we came back full time, all the kids came back, and for a couple of weeks we were still having specials classes in our classroom. But just last week, we are back to normal. We're eating in the cafeteria. We're going to music, PE, all of the things now.
Okay. Wow. So that's amazing that you were able to go back to normal. Is it because there just haven't been a lot of cases in your area or?
Yes and no. You know, the decisions have been kind of confusing. I've watched the board meetings, and I don't necessarily understand their decisions for certain things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yes, and I think with the vaccine, our area has had the vaccine since the middle of February. Most of our teachers are completely vaccinated now, and my area was hit very hard at the beginning with coronavirus, and so I think we had a lot of vaccines directed toward our area. So we were very lucky to have a large population here is now vaccinated.
Wow. Isn't that a relief when you get vaccinated?
It is.
It is.
It really is.
I know. Well, I don't know if you've been paying attention in Washington State, but it's been a little bit different because like here in Oregon, all the educators had the chance to get vaccinated last month. Yeah. And in Washington, that hasn't been the case. And I'm sure you have colleagues that work up there still, and that's been hard for them.
Yeah, Washington sounds like it's been very confusing.
Yeah. My parents just got their first vaccine last week, I think, and it was such a relief. It's just like, oh, thank goodness. But hopefully, I guess everyone's supposed to be vaccinated by May or so. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that
it's pretty amazing how fast it's going.
Absolutely. So aside from being a COVID expert in schools, can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to teaching? What made you decide to become a teacher? And yeah.
Yeah. I think about this question a lot because it's in every interview you ever do, and I never really know what to say because I don't love teaching reading, and I don't love teaching math. The content is not what I love, and after reflecting on it for 10 years now, I think I finally kind of pinned it down, and I love the community and the connection. I love helping these children see, my students see that they can do it. And this is going to be the lesson that they take with them their entire life. Somebody believed in me. They changed my perspective. They changed my attitude, or at least that's what I hope to be. So that's what I think brought me to it. But what I do know is I have been a teacher my whole life. I was the kid who had all of her stuffed animals and neighbors in the living room teaching them. So aside from it's always been what I wanted to do. My teachers were my heroes growing up. I loved that. Being in the classroom was always what I wanted to do. And I was never a great student. And at any point, I was never the fabulous all A's ahead of the game student. But the things that I remember are those connections to my teachers and how they made me feel about learning, and how I came out of school with the idea that even when something's really, really hard, I can do it. I can do it. We can all do it. And I think that's pretty cool. So that's why I'm here. Hopefully I get to be that person for somebody else.
That is so awesome. So it's like the growth mindset really is what you got from your work with your teachers before we knew what that was called. But that's what it sounds like to me. And the relationship building, that's a big part of it too. And it sounds like, you work with students who speak primarily Spanish and English, or how does that work with your dual immersion program?
So the goal is to have 50-50 native Spanish speakers, native English speakers, and in some cases, in some classrooms, that's the case, but not always. I would say the majority. I have mostly native Spanish speakers. Mostly native Spanish speakers, but we speak both. Half my kids, I have two groups of kids. They spend half the day with me and half the day with my partner in Spanish.
Okay, that's wonderful. And so how has that been building communities with those families? Has that been very similar to how you would in a typical English speaking classroom, or any different? Or
I think it's kind of hard to tell because for the last couple of years, I've been an ENL specialist, so ESOL, I think is what you call it in Oregon. It's different everywhere you go.
It changes too. Yes, it changes all the time. Yes. We love our acronyms in education.
So the last couple of years I was in that position, and then with COVID, this year being my first year in this school, in this classroom, I haven't really had an opportunity to build the relationships with family the way that I would have liked to.
Yeah.
It was very different this year. So I don't really know the answer to that.
Okay. Yeah.
Hopefully I will find out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just wondering, with kids going between two classrooms, that's a little different to have, do you and you and the other classroom teacher communicate together, or what does that look like as far as
it depends on the family and why we're communicating. I am lucky or fortunate or whatever. I speak both languages. So if I have an issue in my classroom, I of course talk with my partner teacher. And if it's an issue in both of our classrooms, we both call. But if I have the issue, I usually call. But in a partnership like this, we communicate all day long about everything.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And can you tell us just a little bit about your school and kind of what the culture is of your school?
Yeah, so I work at a school called Alturas Elementary. It's a K-5 dual immersion, Spanish and English. So at every grade level, we have 2 Spanish teachers and 2 English teachers. So we have 4 classrooms, and all of the kids spend half of their day in either English or Spanish in the morning. And then at either right around lunchtime or wherever halfway through your day is, you switch to the other classroom and you're in the other language for the rest of the day.
And that's throughout the whole school, or just
That's throughout the whole school.
Wow, that's amazing.
And we have, as a school, divvied up the content. So I have to think about this now. In kinder, second, and fourth, the English side teaches language arts and science and social studies, and the Spanish side teaches Spanish language arts and math. So you get math every other year in the language. In kinder, you get it in Spanish. In first, you get it in English. In second, you get it in Spanish.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
it
Okay,
has
so
a lot of pros and a lot of cons to it.
mhm.
We're still working out the kinks. It's a fairly new school.
Okay. How long has the school been around
Now that I'm
approximately?
going to say that,
You know I was going to ask you that, didn't
yeah.
you?
So I think we're in year 8.
Okay.
The program, the dual immersion program in my district, is more like 20 years old, but before they had different strands at different schools. So I want to say 8 years, somewhere around there. I should know that. We came together as one school for the whole district.
Okay. Wow. That's amazing. And how big is the district you're a part of? Do you know? Is it like a fairly big or is it smaller or?
Um, it's fairly small. I mean, we have 4 elementary schools, 1 middle, and 1 high school.
Okay. Yeah.
It's small.
Okay. So it's kind of like Ashland a little bit.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Ashland.
Okay. So you had said that you spent the last 2 years as an E&L co-teacher. Can you tell me more
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, so it's English as a new language, or English as a second language, ESOL, language specialist is what I eventually just started calling it. And in our district, we have the co-teaching model for those positions. So
Mhm.
I spent the last couple of years co-teaching in English and Spanish in my school, and I co-taught in kinder and first and third. And it is really different. Both years that I did it, it was completely different. I worked with different teams, different languages. Yeah.
Okay. Was it your choice to kind of move around like that, or was it just what the school needed, and so you went with what was needed?
It was a little bit of both. The first year that I took that position, our principal told the ENL specialists which grade level they would work with. So my first year, I was in third grade, and I co-taught in all of the third grade classrooms, which was wonderful because it made it really easy to bridge the languages and see what all of the kids were getting on both sides. I was the only person that saw that. So when I went to the English side, I could say, hey, in Spanish, this is what we did this morning. Let's tie it in over here, because they don't get to see what's in each other's rooms.
Oh, that's great. So you're able to share some of that with those
Yeah.
teachers. That's awesome.
And then last year, it was more my decision. I chose, I guess I didn't quite choose. I went to the rooms that didn't have support. So that's where I co-taught
Okay.
last year.
Okay. Do you miss co-teaching? Or, I mean, I guess kind of what you're doing is like co-teaching, but it's not the same.
It's different. Yeah. I do miss co-teaching. I took the second grade position because it was needed, and I had my certification to teach in the classroom. So I volunteered to move back to the classroom, but I do really miss co-teaching because I love collaborating with other people, and I learned so much. I went into so many different classrooms and got to see how other people did it, and my way's not always the best.
Yeah, that's wonderful to have that opportunity to see and to work together like that, because teaching can be quite isolating and you kind of get into a routine of doing the same thing over and over again. So it's nice that you were able to see different ways of doing things.
Yeah, it was really fun. I do miss it. I enjoy where I'm at, but I would go back to that.
That's awesome. That's really great. So as far as like learning and continuing to develop in the craft of teaching, have you had any professional development that you're like, this is just awesome and I would want to do more of this if I could?
Yes. I am like 100% on board for thinking maps. It is hands down the best professional development I've ever had. And it completely changed my teaching for the better.
Oh, interesting.
It's amazing. If you haven't heard of it, I highly recommend looking it up. We, as an E&L specialist, our district got all of the ENL specialists for our district to be trained in it because it can be used in any language, any content. It's just a way of organizing your thinking. Have you heard of it, Erin? Do you know anything
No,
about it?
no.
Oh my
Tell
gosh.
me about it. I can't wait to
Everybody
hear
go
about
Google it.
it.
So the science behind it is, and I can't remember his name, but the science is we process information in 8 ways. There are 8 cognitive thinking processes. Everything that you do, it can be categorized into one of these 8 processes. So what this program has done is taken those 8 thinking processes and turned them basically into, I mean, a normal person or normal teacher would call it now I can't think of the word, like a graphic organizer. To the untrained eye, it just looks like graphic organizers, but it's so much more.
Okay.
It is the coolest thing ever. I mean, I don't want to make everybody dizzy, but my classroom is full of them. It's
Wow.
so cool, and it makes planning easier. The idea is that our whole school was trained in it. So starting in kindergarten, you use the same 8 thinking maps that you would use for the rest of your life. So the hope being that you don't spend all that time every year teaching the kids, here's my graphic organizer for comparing and contrasting. Here's how you use it. Here's the kind of information that needs to go here and here and here. Because what we find is when you do that, the kids spend way more time saying, where do I write this? How do I do this? You spend so much time teaching how to just fill in the boxes. But with thinking maps, it's more about the actual critical thinking that is being done. What kind of thinking am I being asked to do? And which map would I use to do that?
Wow.
It's so cool. I can nerd out about it all day.
That's really, I haven't heard about it. And I'm just wondering, so do you teach them a new map each year, or do you teach them the general concept in kindergarten and kind of build on it for each?
So our goal as a school this year, which we didn't get to, we started it last year, but our goal was this fall, and hopefully every fall from now on, we would do a school-wide rollout. So in kindergarten, you still do all 8 maps, but you scaffold it to make it more appropriate for kindergarten. But by 2nd grade, I would think, you should be able to create these maps on your own. So the kids, you never give a black line master. You give a blank piece of paper so that they can organize it themselves.
That's awesome.
So every year we would do a rollout of all 8 maps as a whole school. And then from that point on for the rest of the year, me and a variety of other teachers in my school, I see them everywhere now. They fit into everything.
That's so great.
And it's an excellent tool for brainstorming, getting your ideas on paper, and then writing off of it, speaking off of it, writing off of it. It's just so cool. You need to look it up.
I do. I can't believe I've never heard of it. I know that
I had never heard of it.
Well, yeah, it's so interesting. You get these professional development things like that, and they just make a world of difference to your teaching. It just, and to have a whole school committed to it and working with it makes it powerful. I mean, just the fact that you're continuing to build on it and that understanding for the kids year after year after year is so important.
And I will say, it's hard. The first year when we did it, when we were really kind of pushing it, the buy-in is hard, always, with anything like that. It's difficult. It's difficult to change how you do things. But I have to say that as I walk around my school now, even those teachers that found it hard to change, I see thinking maps everywhere. Everybody has, especially this year during the pandemic when we really haven't been doing any professional development with it, it's pretty cool to walk around and see how much people went, oh my gosh, I can rely on that. That's so cool.
That is so awesome. It's funny. I think it's hard for people to try new things and learn new things, especially if what they've been doing works or they think that it works. And so that would be one of my top tips for teachers, no matter how long you've been teaching, is being open to trying new things and to doing things even when it scares you to do things, because that really is how you grow.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, I am definitely going to look it up. I wish I would have looked it up before we talked today because I would have had more information on it. But maybe at some point in the Teachers Collaborative, you can share like a sample of one of your maps, even just a picture, so we have an idea of what that can actually look like.
Yeah,
That would
absolutely.
be
Can I show
awesome.
you one right now?
Yes, I would
Okay.
love that.
I have them
Yes.
all over my room. Hold on.
Okay.
And I just took these down. So we, for Black History Month, spent the month of February reading about, prominent figures in the African American world. And so we studied a bunch of different people. And then at the end of it, we compared and contrasted 2 different people. So they got to choose, we had, I think, 10 different people, and they got to choose 2 to compare and contrast how they were the same and how they were different. So these students, and this is like, since we came back full time, I've really just started going for it again. But so this is like the first time these kids have done it independently.
Mm-hmm.
They compared Katherine Johnson and MJ. First Black woman in space. Oh, Mae Jemison.
Nice.
Compared and contrasted these 2 women, and the similarities are in the middle, and the differences are on the outsides. And then they wrote from it. There's also a paper back here of how they compared. We talked about transition words and how to write from our map. So this is just one example
That
of a
is
6-year-old doing it.
That is so cool. And why is it in thirds? Is that a way of organizing it?
Yes. So we folded it into thirds. This person didn't quite get it right, but that's okay. We folded it into thirds, and then they write the 2 things that they're comparing and contrasting on the lines right there, just to
Okay.
help with the spatial part of it. So if you write the 2 things you're comparing in the middle, like here's a better example. And then the similarities are all in the middle, differences on the outside.
That is so great. And then you just have the students work up around the classroom, which I love anyway. It's important that they're able to see their work and that they can see each other's. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so great.
Everybody needs to go look it up.
We will all do that as soon as this live's over. We'll all Google
Do
it. So I see Antonio joined us. So welcome, Antonio. Thank you for being here with us. And if anyone else who's watching wants to ask Brooke any questions, please feel free to. I was just looking at a book that you're reading called Resilience by Rick Hansen. Is that
Resilient, yeah.
What is that book about, and how did you find out about it?
Actually, a colleague, a university here in Idaho is giving credit for the book clubs to be reading it. So a colleague reached out and said, anybody want to read a book? And we just went through and chose this one so it's called Resilient. And it's about basically how to find your calm core and how to find your own resilience, how to basically be in charge of being a resilient person. How do you be a resilient person? And so we thought, with the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world right now, and school being the crazy mess that it is this year for everybody, anxiety is higher than normal. So we want to be resilient teachers. So we're reading it together. And it has, nothing in it is like groundbreaking, but it's all just good reminders of just what we should do as people anyway. How do we interact with each other on a human basis, not just in the classroom? I'm definitely taking some things away as far as like, how can I help my students be more mindful? We have a social emotional curriculum that we follow, and I'm finding that a lot of it connects to what he's saying in the book Resilient about being mindful and having a growth mindset. And I mean, as a teacher, I feel like I hear other people say this all the time. You get to choose every day. if you're happy or angry or negative or positive. And so this book talks a lot about how, like, what does that actually mean? How do you choose? I know when I'm feeling angry, I can't just be happy,
Yeah.
but I can pause and reflect and use some of my resources to change my perspective and move along with my day.
Wow. That would be so useful in your work with students and parents. And I mean, just in life in general, but especially during stressful moments and with classroom management sometimes to be able to
Yeah,
just pause, breathe, regroup, and then really think about your mindset and how you want to be feeling and being able to have some influence on that. That's really powerful.
absolutely. It's been yeah, it's been nice to be reading it while in the classroom.
Wow, that's
And it is
great.
interesting how, like, you know how you can feel the energy in your classroom?
Hmm.
I feel like I'm more attuned to it because I can look around my room and go, wow, we're like this. Let's all
Yeah,
just take a pause, let's take a moment, do some breathing, how's our day going? Have a quiet moment to reflect. And it helps.
absolutely. And that whole idea of community has come across in everything that we've talked about today, how important the community that you're building in your classroom is, the community with your peers, with other teachers. And that sounds like this book club is just another example of how you're keeping community going as a
Yeah,
teacher. Yeah.
absolutely.
But what I'm also hearing is that takes effort on your part. You need to be willing to try new things, go to the trainings, do a book club, and to continue to do that.
Yes, never stop doing that. Absolutely. You have to put the effort in. Whatever you put out, you're going to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so refreshing to hear as a graduate of mine. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. But also, I mean, you've been teaching for 10 years now, and you hear a lot about burnout and how after 5 years, teachers leave the profession. And so just to hear that you're doing things to keep yourself fresh and motivated and inspired is really wonderful because I don't think we hear enough of those stories in education.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's never going to be easy to change or to look for the new. But Erin, actually, your voice comes into my mind frequently because I remember
Oh,
when
I'm
I
scared now.
no, it's a good thing.
Okay.
I remember in my senior year when I was student teaching and going to school, and the chaos of that year. I'm sure I don't know what the program looks like now, but then it was very hard. And I remember talking to you about it one day, and you told me to just put it down. And you
I
said,
did.
you did. You said, it will get done.
Yeah.
Take a break. And I remember thinking, what? I can't take a break. I have got so many things to do. And you were like, just no, go do something else.
Wow. It was before
So,
my time. So what
yeah,
did you go do then?
I have no idea. I think that weekend I had a family in town or something, and I wanted to go do something. And you were like, yeah, go. This is going to get done. You're going to do it. And I think about it all the time when I'm like this, which is how I
Good.
feel like a lot of my life is. And this kind of a career, anxiety is high and stress is high. I often have to tell myself, just stop. It
That's
will get done.
awesome.
It
And
will.
you do get it done, right?
I do get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to share where I got that message from when I was doing my master's program. My mom told me that. So I had been working and working and pushing myself. And one day she said, you know what? You just need to put it all down, watch a movie,
Hmm.
take a few hours off. And I thought, I can't do that. No, I just have to keep going. She said, no, you need to do it. And we did. And to this day, I still remember sitting in my apartment in Seattle on that rainy day watching a movie with my mom and how much it really changed how I was approaching things, and that break actually gave me more energy to get stuff done than less. I didn't lose the momentum. I actually built it back up.
Yeah. And frequently that's when I have like my brilliant ideas. I put it down, I walk away, and then all of a sudden it comes to me. The most amazing thing ever.
So what I'm hearing is you have your brilliant ideas when you hear my voice in your head.
That's,
That,
you
that's the
are my
start of
brilliant.
it. They're your ideas, but
Through Aaron Wilder's voice.
Well, I'm so happy to hear that. That's awesome. I'm glad that that has stuck with you
It
because
has,
it is important. It's that self-care piece, you know. You just have to
absolutely.
you have to take care of yourself. So,
Which I think has been a huge part of education this year. I see it all the time on Instagram and everywhere, self care, self care. And I think that's where the book Resilient has helped me a lot because what the heck does that look like? Self care for myself right now? Again, I have too much to do. There's too many things that need to get done, too many people relying on me. But how do I stop and reflect, take the breath, and just let it be? I'm going to be okay.
that's so awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. That just makes me want to take a deep breath and be like,
I
okay.
know.
So we have been talking for 30 minutes and I could go on because I just love talking with you and seeing you. It's been far too long. But the one last thing I'd like to ask you is, what do you think is the most important thing you do as a teacher?
What do I do as the most important thing as a teacher? I have to bring it back to the relationship building. I I'm not saying I am the best person at it by any means, but it is my focus. Build relationships, build a community, because without that, my students won't feel safe to take the risk when we're talking about gravity and
Mm-hmm.
putting out a hypothesis or whatever it is, or telling me when something isn't feeling right at school or at home, or if they haven't had breakfast, those kinds of things. We have to hit the, what is it, Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah,
This be the That's, I think, the most important thing I do. Make my students feel heard, safe, and loved.
that's amazing. That really is. And I mean, to give them that every single day is huge.
I
That's
hope I'm giving it to them every day. I try. We all
well,
know how it is, though. Again, you come in with this, my 2-year-old didn't sleep. I didn't have breakfast. Who's listening to me? But again, resilience.
that's a Maslow's hierarchy for teachers.
Yeah.
But that's just, I mean, it's so wonderful to think. I mean, I know for myself, I went into teaching to make a difference in the lives of others. And I think that all of us go into teaching in some way related to that. And to know that you are building that foundation for kids to feel safe and loved by an adult. And hopefully they're feeling that way in other areas of their lives as well. But to come to school every day and feel that is huge. That really
Yeah.
is.
I
That
think
really,
that builds, I mean, from there, from feeling safe to, loved, we can actually have fun when we learn. Learning should be fun.
it should be. I
We
agree.
could, we did an activity. We're learning about gravity, and we went outside and did gravity art today. And we came back in, and one of my students said, "Miss Brooke, thank you so much for letting us do that." And I thought, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
it right there. That's what I'm doing.
that is so
They
awesome.
love to
And
be
you,
here. We love to all be together.
well, and as a teacher, those activities are funner than a lot of curriculum that you would be handed and would have to
Yeah,
teach. So it's not just fun for them, it's fun for you too.
fun for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. It went by way too fast.
Of
Are there
course.
any parting words or anything you'd like to say that we didn't get a chance to talk about that you really want to make sure you convey to those people in our collaborative?
Keep going.
Be resilient. Keep going.
It is almost here. No, that's not the message I want to end on, but that's
Almost
what the
summer.
yeah.
Of course, you work during
Um,
the summer anyway, so,
yeah, yeah. Um, no, I think I resilient. Be resilient. Yeah. Be flexible, communicate, collaborate, use your resources with the people that you work with. And that's all I got. Uh-oh. You're frozen. Am I frozen? I'm going to go ahead and end.